High Desert State Prison, located in Susanville, California, would first open its doors in 1995 and is today home to some 3,500 minimum, medium, and max security custody individuals. Back on November 27th, 2019, at approximately 2:54 p.m., staff would observe inmates Roger Vasquez and Douglas Leon attack fellow inmate Edgardo Herrera between general population yards on Facility D. And although officers would immediately order all inmates on the yard to get down, inmates Vasquez and Leon would continue to ignore commands and continue attacking inmate Herrera. Staff would eventually have to use chemical agents to stop the attack, and although inmate Herrera would be summoned to an ambulance and given life-saving measures, he would be pronounced deceased at 4:28 p.m.
President Bush this past week made the startling but painfully true observation that an American soldier on duty in the Persian Gulf may have been safer there than on the streets of his hometown. The president might have added, especially if his hometown is Los Angeles. In Operation Desert Storm, fewer than 200 Americans died. In the streets of Los Angeles last year, 690 died in gang wars. There are some 100,000 gang members, homeboys they call themselves, in 850 Los Angeles gangs. And in those wars, there's no ceasefire.
Every day, life from a lot.
Going to jail, getting shot, getting stabbed.
3 shots, sir. Attack 342.
It is kind of a serious game.
Darkness descends on Los Angeles, and the gangs and their guns hit the streets again. Shot in the leg, a gang member runs for his life. Gang members scatter. Another skirmish and the bloody war is over. No one was killed this time, but not for lack of trying. For the past few years, politicians, cops, and gang workers have focused on warring black gangs. But this winter, the deadliest wars are among Hispanic gangs. Police told Expose that Hispanic gangs are killing in record numbers.
Homeboy? What do they call you?
Danny boy.
Actually, this is where the Los Angeles gangs began, dating back to the Zoot Suit Wars of the 1940s.
This for La Lopez.
Now, there are 50 gangs in 7 square miles of East Los Angeles. In 1990, they accounted for 33 murders. This is Lopez Street in East Los Angeles. It's the heart of Lopez Maravilla, a gang that dates back to the 1940s. Generations of young men from this neighborhood following their fathers, even their grandfathers, into the gang.
I grew up on these streets.
You grew up in the gangs on these streets, right?
Yeah, I got into the gang when I was about 11 years old.
Tintin is now 32, a veteran of prison and heroin addiction.
You know, somebody else is gonna get hit.
He followed his parents, his uncles, and his cousins in the gang,
Hey, what's up, man?
and earned a reputation as a pistolero, a shooter.
The revolution's over.
Now, Tintin works for the State Gang Violence Reduction Project, trying to stop the killing. As a veterano or veteran, he can make the Lopez homeboys listen.
When is it gonna stop, eh? How many more homeboys are gonna have to die? How many more kids are gonna have to get shot? They look at themselves as soldiers of their communities, their neighborhoods. They're like the policemen of their neighborhoods. You know, that's why most Hispanic gangs, I mean, their wars are territorial-wise. A lot of times, you know, gang members will deal drugs in order to raise enough money to buy guns.
How old are the kids who are doing the shooting these days?
They start from about 11 to...
11?
Yeah, they start pretty young.
The ties that bind the homeboys are very strong. What do you need that they can give you?
A lot of things, like, you know, they love me because I'm one of the homeboys, and I do too.
You like having older brothers?
Yeah.
Like a family? Like a father?
They're my family. And
Yeah? You have a father at home?
Big brother.
What happened here? That's not a appendicitis.
Oh, no, it's a bullet wound. It's got a shot.
You must have almost died.
Yeah.
Taking care of business. Retaliation. That's the name of this deadly game. 14-year-old Marcos was the 11th victim of Lopez's war with a rival gang. Marcos was only in Lopez a month when a rival gang roared by, guns blazing, Another drive-by killing.
Sheriff's Department, open the door. We have a warrant.
Days later, a pre-dawn raid. The L.A. County Sheriff's Gang Unit arrests a 17-year-old for the murder.
Turn this way.
The boy's mother simply would not believe that he was in a gang, despite plenty of evidence. Joker was fingered by a Lopez homeboy who witnessed the shooting. But Joker was released when the Lopez gang member recanted his story. He had broken the code of the street. Don't get the police involved. Take care of it yourself.
Well, they figure they have a better chance of getting at that guy with him out on the streets than in jail, you know, because they know he's going to get, life. If he gets life, they don't want that. They want him dead.
What's good, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope y'all having a blessed week. So today's story, we're going to be going back to California. We've been in Arizona for the last couple videos, but today we're going back to Cali. We're going to be covering a vicious murder that took place just a few days after Thanksgiving on November 27th of 2019 at High Desert State Prison. That's in Susanville, California. Now, you guys know I do try to let you guys know as of late if it's an SNY or a GP yard. I was able to come across this actually pretty easily, and it happened on a GP population yard facility D at High Desert State Prison. So first, we're going to read from the CDCR's press release about the attack, and then I have some really good information on the victim as well as one of his attackers. These guys were all from Los Angeles County. These guys were all Southsiders, convicted of various crimes. But first, let's start with the press release about the attack. Susanville High Desert State Prison officials are investigating the death of an inmate as a homicide after he was attacked by two other inmates. On November 27th at approximately 2:54 p.m., staff saw inmates Roger Vasquez and Doug Leon attacking inmate Edgardo Herrera between General Pop Yards on Facility D. Officers immediately responded and all inmates on the yard were ordered to get down. When Vasquez and Leon ignored the command, officers used chemical agents to quell the incident. Responding staff summoned an ambulance for Herrera, provided life-saving measures. Herrera was then taken to an outside area hospital where he was pronounced deceased at 4:28 p.m. Didn't even make it 2 hours. Officers would recover two inmate-manufactured weapons at the scene. No staff members were injured in the altercation. Vasquez and Leon who were obviously put into segregated housing pending the investigation. Now, if you can't already tell, I was not able to actually find a picture of our victim, Edgardo Herrera. He was received by CDCR on September 15th, 2011 from LA County to serve a 30-year sentence for second-degree robbery as a second striker with enhancements for the Street Gang Act and commission of a violent felony, use of a firearm, as well as having a prior felony conviction of serious offense. In September of 16, he also got another 4-year sentence from Kern County for possession of a controlled substance in prison as a second striker. Our guy Roger Vasquez, one of the attackers, was received also in 2011, in May of 2011, from Los Angeles County to serve a 12-year sentence for second-degree robbery with a 10-year enhancement for use of a firearm. Now, the thing with Vasquez is he's another example of someone who gets locked up. Don't get me wrong, 12 years, that's a really long time, couldn't imagine. But you're going to have a date. If you look at it now, he'd have been out for a couple years by now, but he starts picking up more charges. April 3rd, 2014, Vasquez gets a 2-year additional sentence out of Riverside County for possession of a controlled substance while in prison. July of 2015, Vasquez receives another 2-year sentence from Riverside County for battery on a non-prisoner, an in-prison offense. So he attacked an administrator, an employee, something like that. In March of 2019, this is just a few months before this murder took place, Vasquez receives an 8-year sentence from Lassen County for assault by prisoner with a deadly weapon or force likely to cause great bodily injury and possession and manufacture of a deadly weapon by a prisoner. So the way I read that, things are starting to get ratcheted up. Vasquez becomes more and more disillusioned, probably becomes more and more realizing that, man, it feels like I'm never going to get out of here. He's a gang member. He's someone that, drugs, violence, weapons, whatever it is, he just keeps picking up charges. And that's a really, I'm trying to think of the term used, drowning or like suffocation by not just, our prison system, but that gang life, that street life, that drug life. You literally you are burying yourselves alive, literally and figuratively, within the California prison system, and that is a serious example of, again, 2011, 12-year sentence with some good time. Maybe he gets out by 2018, 2019, but doesn't ever make it there. Now he's looking at a murder charge. Leon, Doug Leon, was received by CDCR again in April of 2011. So all three of these guys, different months, but came in 2011. Now, he came to serve a life with parole sentence from Los Angeles County for first-degree murder with intentional discharge of a firearm causing great bodily injury, death, and attempting to threat or extort money or property with the use of a firearm with an enhancement for Street Gang Act in commission of a serious felony. On April 14th, 2016, Leon received an additional 3-year sentence from Lassen County for possession and manufacture of a deadly weapon by a prisoner. Excuse me, guys. Gosh. Okay, now, our victim in this case, Edgardo Herrera. I was able to get some really good background information on him. His name or his handle was Fatty. So it was Edgardo Fatty Herrera. He was a Barrio Lot 13 gang member, a very, very well-known street gang kind of in the East LA area. We're going to be reading from an appeal that was filed, that he had filed actually in 2017. He was just challenging some rulings by the court, some things that happened in his trial. It's just the norm when you're going through this appeal process and all this. So we're going to read from the certain facts of this case. It's not a ton, but it still gives you an idea of the crime that took place that got him locked up. And then we're going to go into some background information on the Lot Stoners gang or the Barrio Lot 13. So it's factual background regarding Edgardo Fatty Herrera's case. And this was, he was convicted on this case back in December of 2010, and it was on 3 counts of robbery. The following facts, taken from the California Court of Appeals unpublished decision on direct review, have not been rebutted with clear and convincing evidence and are therefore presumed correct. So basically the court is telling him, yeah, you brought some stuff to the table, but no, not convinced. In October 2009, Mario Frias, Jesus Nunez, Arturo Frias, and Victor Vasquez were walking to a party when they were approached by 2 men. One would ask Mario Frias where he was from, and he responded, nowhere, signifying that he was not a gang member. The man demanded that Mario Frias give him the contents of his pockets. Mario Frias would refuse and slap the man's hands away when he reached for Frias' pocket. The man hit Mario Frias in the head with a pistol. He went through Nunez's pocket and hit Nunez in the head with the gun. Mario Frias would run across the street, but then 2 men jumped out from a nearby car, demanded his possessions, then attacked him when he claimed to have nothing to give them. And it says petitioner, but the petitioner in this case is our victim, Edgardo Herrera. Edgardo Herrera was the driver of the car. He remained in the car and gave the orders to the assailant. So in this case, he's looking like a leader of this entire, this robbery, including an instruction to be sure to take the men's possessions. Herrera was holding a shiny, rounded object that was shaped like a bat and that made a sound like a gun being loaded. The Frias brothers and Nunez were beaten and robbed. 3 of the attackers left in the car, and our guy, Edgardo Fatty Herrera, drove. And that's ended up with getting him them 3 robbery convictions. The Lot Stoners, Barrio Lot 13, is a predominantly Hispanic street gang from the East Los Angeles section of LA. They came out during the stoner era of the 70s when Hispanic street socialization was centered around parties, drinking, and doing lightweight drugs. They got their name from a large hillside lot in the neighborhood of City Terrace. They eventually transformed into a traditional street gang, already having rivalries with El Hoyo Maravilla, High Times Maravilla, and Gage Maravilla, which were all previously stoner groups. Their turf occupies the area near and around Brannick and Blanchard streets. They formed a second neighborhood in the Montebello East LA and a third neighborhood in Huntington Park. Several cliques, Chicos Locos and Tiny Insane Criminals. And that was what our guy, Edgardo Herrera, belonged to. Now, one of our attackers of Edgardo Herrera, a guy by the name of Doug Leon or Douglas Leon, he belonged to the Maywood Locos 13 gang. And this is an appeal. Remember, all these guys got locked up in 2011. This is an appeal that the decision was made back in April of 2013. Now, interestingly enough, with Doug Leon, I was reading his court paperwork, and our former vice president and our last Democratic representation for running for president, Kamala Harris, is actually one of the prosecutors on this case. Just thought that was kind of interesting. Sorry about the phone call there. So anyway, so I thought that was kind of a little bit just like, saw that name pop up because she was a former prosecutor in California. So anyway, Doug Leon, one of our attackers of Edgardo Herrera, he is from Maywood, okay? And we have a really, really good, on Edgardo Herrera's appeal, not a ton of information. But as far as Doug Leon, Maywood Locos 13 gang member, he ended up picking like a robbery charge, and the facts of this case are really, really interesting. First thing I'm going to read, again, this was an appeal filed in 2013. First thing I'm going to read is actually what he got sentenced for exactly, and then I'm going to go into the facts of the case. Defendant was charged by amended information with first-degree murder of Brian Barraza, the attempted premeditated murders of Andy M., Angel S., and Tiffany B., and the attempted extortion of Kevin E. And Kevin E. with gang and firearm enhancements were also alleged. A jury found defendant guilty of first-degree murder and attempted extortion. It found true a gang enhancement on each count. As to the murder, it found true 3 firearm enhancements, and as to the extortion, it found true 1 firearm enhancement. Defendant was sentenced to 50 years to life in prison, compromise of 25 to life for the murder, plus a consecutive 25 pursuant to section subdivision. Oh my gosh, that's so much legal jargon. Plus a concurrent 10 years for the extortion, plus 3 more years for the gun use, 5 years for gang enhancements. And it said, defendant, our guy, Doug Leon, timely appealed. But this is just an example, guys, that we've been talking about on this channel, especially this year in 2025, that these enhancements are no joke. I mean, yes, he got convicted of murder, so you're going to go away for a very long time. But then they stack these enhancements on top, and it's just, it's crazy. It really is crazy what it adds to somebody's sentence. Okay, so these are the facts of the case. The evidence established that on January 15th, 2010, Doug Leon was a member of the criminal street gang known as the Maywood Locos, which claimed the 5500 block of Gifford Avenue in the city of Maywood as their territory and considered the Orchard Locos to be their rivals. At about 9:30 that Friday night, 16-year-old Brian and 2 friends, 17-year-old Angel and 15-year-old Tiffany, were waiting to get into a party at that location when defendant, our guy Doug Leon, fatally shot Brian 5 times. That is really sad, man. 15-year-old Andy M. was shot in the leg as he was running from the scene. Brian's childhood friend, Angel, testified that he and his girlfriend, Tiffany, walked with Brian to the party that night. Leon and 4 companions came out of the party and approached the threesome as they were waiting to get in. Doug Leon asked Angel and Brian, "Where are you from?" Angel replied, quote, "I don't bang. I ain't from nowhere." Brian, who was standing to Angel's left, did not respond. As he turned to speak to Tiffany on his right, Angel kept an eye on Brian and defendant, Doug Leon, because he was concerned. Angel saw Doug Leon move behind Brian's left shoulder, pull a gun out of his waistband with his right hand, and fire 5 shots towards Brian and Angel. Brian jerked back, and when Angel turned, he saw Brian on the ground and Doug Leon running north, still holding the gun. Because Angel was killed in a car accident before trial, that's sad, man. His preliminary hearing testimony was read to the jury. So think about that, guys. This guy, Brian, his friend Angel, and Angel's girlfriend Tiffany go to this party. They're 15, 16, 17. Brian's murdered. Angel's shot in the leg. Him and Tiffany make it out alive. And then as Angel's supposed to testify, he gets killed in a car accident. Life's crazy sometimes. Angel and Tiffany ran south to a house on the corner of Gifford Avenue and 56th Street, where Angel saw another young man who had been shot in the leg enter. From there, Angel called 911 and reported that a gang member had just shot his best friend. While waiting outside for the police to arrive, Angel saw a caller pull up in front of the house. That's crazy. Doug Leon, still holding a gun, got out of the front passenger seat, and another person got out of the back seat of the car. Angel made eye contact with Doug Leon. At the sound of the approaching police cars, Leon and his companion got back into the car, which drove away. Leon was wearing a black Dodgers jacket over a black T-shirt. He had a gang tattoo on his forehead, but Angel could not recall what it said. From a photographic lineup, Angel identified Leon as the shooter. The account of the incident Tiffany gave to officers at the scene was the same as Angel's in all material respects. She recalled that after Angel and Brian said they were not in a gang, the man who had approached them walked past, then turned and fired 5 shots in their direction. Tiffany described the shooter as an 18 to 20-year-old, 130 to 150 pounds, 5'8", male Hispanic with acne, a shaved head, and the words Maywood Loco tattooed on his forehead. He was wearing a black Dodgers jacket, white T-shirt, and pants of an unknown color. Man, dude. Yeah, that's the breakdown. That's what Doug Leon ended up getting sentenced for that life for murder. You know, I make these videos and they don't, some bother me more than others. This one a little bit just because teenagers basically, and think about all the times you go to a party, think about all the times you go to a party with friends and end in a fight, or you see somebody there you don't like. I remember the one I got really memorable was a couple years after I graduated high school. I went to a party and the guy that didn't like me because I'd kind of been talking to his girlfriend. Me and him got into this whole altercation. And that doesn't mean anything. That's not real, and there's no gang ties, no nothing. But I just think about, I look back now at the age I'm in my 30s, and I laugh about it. But it's like, this stuff is real, man. This is real street beef. This is real. You got teenagers that, you know, your brain is not developed. It's just different. You're thinking differently. You're just making quick, rash decisions. And people die behind it every single day. I thought this was a really interesting story, a really good story. I had to dig a little bit to find it, but I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I think I did a really good job of bringing you guys some good information. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with, because I've been focused on trying to talk about this more and more, is get the help. Get the help. I got a coworker right now struggling with sobriety. He's been hired and fired with us a couple times. He's really talented at what he does. And I talk to him just about every night. And I tell my girl I feel kind of like his therapist, and I'm just joking, but he's so good at what he does, but he just cannot get out of his own way. And he's one of the first examples, and if you guys know, I've got, what's today, the 9th? Tomorrow I'll have 5. Yep, tomorrow I'm going to have exactly 5.5 years sober. But he's one of the first examples since in my sobriety that I've seen somebody, that's how I was like, you know, over 5 years ago, where I knew I was good at my job, but drugs and alcohol, mainly drugs, were preventing me from having any sort of a decent life. You know, my life consisted of jail, treatment centers, detox facilities, random girls, and my family, you know, keeping me at arm's length. So if any of you are struggling or know anybody that is, I just pray. I really do. I just pray you get the help, and I pray that things take a turn, and you guys are worth it. Until next time, much love. Peace.